Instead of worrying about the breakfast which is waiting for you afterwards, or the journey to your place of work, just pour all your attention into brushing the teeth. Just feel the brush against the teeth, against your gums. Not only will you brush your teeth more effectively, but you also won't make a mess with all of the toothpaste going all over the place. But more importantly, you'll find that the mind will be more at peace throughout the rest of the day. Whatever you're doing it with care. The most important person is the one you're with. When you're brushing the teeth, the most important person is the toothbrush. Care. This is the being with one thing at a time practice. Being where you are, you find actually you get more done. Even when you're driving the car and you're sitting at the traffic lights, you can just feel where you are. You can feel the pressure of the hands on the wheel. Feel the expressions in your face, the tension which might be there. You'll notice if it's there, you can just relax it and solve a lot of future problems. There's much in the time in the day when we can meditate. One person I knew was a very high business man in the city of New York. He would spend all day going from board meetings to board meetings, cutting these very, powerful multi-million-dollar deals. When he went from one company's boardroom to another, when he got down to the lift, he never took a cab nor a limousine. He walked from office building to office building. But as he walked, he didn't think of the deal he just cut. He didn't think of the problems in the next meeting. He walked mindfully, doing what we call walking meditation, which I'll explain in a moment. He put all of his attention on where he was, carefully attending to just walking down the street. And what happened was the tension and the nervousness of the previous meeting disappeared by the time he got to the next office. And when he got to the next office, unlike many other businessmen, he was calm, clear, and very prepared. In fact, he was a very successful and powerful businessman just because of that. Instead of looking through his notes, he looked through his mind. Instead of preparing his arguments, he prepared his clarity. This is a way that we can be a successful business person or a successful wife, a successful bricklayer, or whatever else you do in this world. Now, this way of walking meditation, which this person was doing, is simply just putting all the awareness in the moment. With walking. It's something which we do so often, again we take it for granted. How do you walk? Which part of your foot lifts from the ground first? And in what order does it touch the ground again afterwards? What walking meditation means is one puts all the attention in just the movement of the feet. For some of you who find it difficult to sit meditation because of pains in the body, sometimes caused through illness or accident, walking meditation can be very effective. You just choose a path somewhere, maybe in your house, a corridor or hallway, or a little path in the back of your garden. Choosing that path and walking backwards from one end to the other. You reach the end, you carefully turn round and walk in the opposite direction until you reach that end, and you turn round again and walk back. Doing something simple which doesn't take much thought, but putting all of the attention into the feelings on the feet. In the same way you watch the breath, you know whether the breath is going in or going out. When you're doing walking meditation, you know whether the left foot is rising or falling, or whether the right foot is moving. You know all of the experiences involved in walking in the moment. Some people might think this is a stupid thing to do, and it's boring. But this week I ask you to try it. And I'll give you just a simple demonstration on how it should be done. So you can try it, and you'll find that if you do it properly according to the instructions, you'll find you get some very peaceful states of mind and a very enjoyable experience of just being with the process of walking. Again, one just chooses the path. I'll have to just talk without the microphone because I can't carry this with me. Just like choosing the path, putting the attention down in front of you, maybe a meter or two. If you're doing walking meditation, it's a waste of time to look over here and look over there, because that will just distract the attention from where it should be, which is on the feet. And you move as slowly or as fast as you wish. But all the time you're noticing which part of the foot is moving. For me, the heel always comes up first, and then the toes. And the last part which comes up for me is the ball of the foot. The toes are already off the ground by the time I'm there. And the foot usually goes back a little bit as the weight goes on the other foot and goes forward. And the first part which touches is just to the right of the ball of the foot. And then the toes, from the small toe to the big toe. And lastly the heel. Each one of these has its own feeling. And you're aware of these feelings. You're aware of the feeling as the weight moves to the foot which has just gone to the ground, and the heel comes up as you move the other foot. All the time aware of every movement of the feet. As you walk, putting all your attention on the feelings which arise from moment to moment. You can only see in the present moment, and which are not so complicated that they need a commentary. When you get to the end of your path, you stop. When you realise, you take a note that you're at the end of the path. You start to feel how you turn around. With your attention always from the knees down to the feet, and all the feelings which are happening down there as we move and turn around. Always taking time to stop and then moving again as you walk forward. With your whole attention on the process of walking. This is called walking meditation, and it's very simple to do. If you try some walking meditation for 15 minutes, you'll find the same problems with sitting meditation. The mind will want to go and think of something else. You'll get distracted by sounds, telephone calls, heat and cold, and also by your own thoughts. What's the purpose of this? What am I doing this for? Give away all of those thoughts and just do it and experience and see for yourself the result of doing walking meditation. When the attention is confined to a simple thing like walking backwards and forwards, the mind soon gets so peaceful that you don't get distracted at all. All the attention stays with the movement of the feet. And commonly you find yourself walking slower and slower, because there's so much to watch in just one step. And as you walk backwards and forwards for 15 minutes or half an hour, when you come out afterwards, you're so still and quiet. You feel so good. When I started doing walking meditation in the first monastery I went to in Thailand when I became a monk, I used to walk a distance which could probably half the width of this hall. It took me half an hour to get from one end to the next, another half an hour to make the return journey. All the time, because completely blissed out. So much so I remember once that I was walking a bit too late and was missing an appointment for ceremony. One of the other monks came up to tell me, "You've got to come to a ceremony." And I remember myself as I was looking down at the ground, just being aware of the movement of the feet, and they said, "Come, you've got to go to a ceremony." Taking about a minute, as I turned round to the monk. I couldn't move any faster. I was in bottom gear. And said, What? I wasn't doing it on purpose, I just couldn't go faster. He was slow down and cool and peaceful. And I hope you may be experiencing that for yourself when you try walking meditation. Many people I've taught walking meditation for the first time, and they said, wow, this is amazing, this is beautiful. You're slowing down, you're getting into peace, you're getting into calm. Just watching the feelings as you walk. So this is another way of meditation which I'm teaching to you and giving to you to experiment during the next week. Try it out and see how it goes, as well as the sitting meditation. And see if these attitudes start to spill over into your daily life. So whatever you're doing with everything you've got. I'll finish with one last story. I was with a teacher in Thailand for over 9 years. He's quite a famous teacher now in the world of Buddhism. One of his teachings was told to me by an Australian man. I never heard this teaching myself. Many years after the teacher stopped teaching. He had gone to visit this teacher in the northeast of Thailand, which was a very difficult place to get to. He made a special journey, and when he got to this place, some 700 kilometers from Bangkok, he found that my teacher, his name was Ajahn Brahm, was just surrounded with people. He was on the outskirts of these people trying to ask some questions which he wanted to ask of this wise monk, and found that there was no way he was going to be able to catch his attention. There was too many people. He'd arranged for the taxi to sort of come back and pick him up later on to take him to this train station to get the journey back to Bangkok, the all-night journey. And the taxi wasn't going to come back for another hour. He knew he wasn't going to see the teacher and ask his profound questions. So he saw other monks helping to sweep the paths in the monastery. He thought, well, I've come all this way, I might as well do something useful. He picked up a broom and started to sweep. He was sweeping the leaves from the path when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned round, and to his surprise and delight, it was the teacher, Ajahn Brahm. He'd seen this Westerner coming and not having a chance to ask any questions. But unfortunately the teacher, Ajahn Brahm, he'd only left the great group following around him because he had another appointment himself and the car was waiting for him. And so he just gave this young Australian man a very simple teaching. He told him, if you're going to sweep, sweep with 100% of what you've got. And then the teacher went away. This Australian man remembered this teaching. If you're going to sweep, sweep with everything you've got. And he realized that this was more than a teaching on how to keep the monastery clean. It was a teaching on how to live life. If you're going to meditate, meditate with everything you've got. If you're going to write a letter, meditate with everything you've got. If you're going to brush your teeth, drive your car, do your exam, make that telephone call, speak with the person who's in front of you. They're the most important person in the world. Give them everything you've got. And this is the way of Buddhist meditation. It's not that hard. Try walking meditation. You find it's easy. Learn meditation on the breath, and you find it easy. And you find whatever you do in life, instead of doing it half-heartedly, quarter-heartedly, eighth-heartedly, you give it everything you've got, and life will start to come together. So that's enough for this session of the introduction to meditation. There is one more session to go, where we'll be picking up some loose ends next week and also teaching a couple of other very powerful meditations. But that's next week. For this week's lesson, has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask about what we've been talking about? It's question time. Yes?
When you were driving your car and someone speaking to you in the seat next to you, how do you divide?
Yeah. Okay, doing one thing at a time practice, sometimes it's wrong just to turn around and forget about the traffic in front of you, you'll be in great trouble. Then it's best actually, if you are a driver in very dangerous traffic, then perhaps you should ask them, please later, not now. Because sometimes that might distract you. If, however, that you find that the amount of attention required driving your car is not that much that you can share your attention with the passenger, then fine, talk to them. But you notice that quite often the conversations you have with people sitting next to you in the car can't be very deep. Because one thing, you haven't got their body language to look at. So often communication is not just what we say, because quite often we're afraid to say what we really mean. And sometimes we go round and round, trying to give the other person cues. And some of those cues are given by body language. Little signs, if we're not very aware, we miss those. Again, it's happened so often when people have divorces or separations. Before that happens, they give the signs that something is wrong in the relationship, because people don't want that relationship to end except when it gets too bad. And they give those signs and they're not heard, they're not seen, because we're not paying attention. Because we're sitting in a car and we're looking at the traffic and trying to listen to her or him. You need to give one another sort of, what is called quality time, which is not just sitting in a car. But there's many things which you do in your day, especially the important things of life. Give them full effort. And then you find that they're done very well. Like brushing your teeth is a good example. Drinking a cup of tea is a good example. You know the Japanese tea ceremony? That's all that's about. Putting complete mindfulness into a very simple daily occurrence of drinking tea. I often remark that people go to expensive restaurants and they spend enormous amount of money on very delicious food. Do they taste it? No, because they're talking to the person next to them. It'd be great if you're really spending all this money on this food, then enjoy it, get your money's worth. Taste every morsel instead of distracting your attention. Or drinking a cup of tea. Feel the tea as it goes down your throat. Enjoy every taste, every moment. And you can find that just drinking a cup of tea becomes an amazing experience, rather than just you're listening to the radio and talking to someone else and rushing to put on your coat and you're drinking the tea at the same time. It's a waste. You might be just drinking sort of dishwater. In fact, sometimes you are and haven't realised it. So see, one thing at a time is important to practice, but not obviously all the time. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Yes?
As an aid to meditation, when you're supposed to be focusing your mind on this breath, it is normal to have visualizations of breath actually coming in and out, like you can see your throat and your air passages and that, because that is just one activity to clear mind.
Okay, you're asking, when you're doing the meditation on the breath, following the breath going in and out, does visualizations such as visualizing the passage of the breath through the throat, it can help, yes. After a while though, leave aside those visualizations and just go to bare feeling. I think I did mention last time that sometimes one can add like to the breath, which can help. It's like similar to a visualization. It's a little means one can use to give the mind something more to get its sort of teeth into, so it doesn't get distracted. But after a while, when you've got the image of the breath, with the throat and everything else, whatever else you have, I remember someone imagined it as like a bellows going in and out. And whatever the image is, once you've got the breath and the image, the attention is sustained there, then let go of all the externals and just go, make it as simple as possible. That's why in this meditation you may have come across relaxation exercises where people take you by means of a cassette tape, quite often wandering through green fields to a stream and to a forest. That can get you relaxed, but it's still a bit more complicated than the breath. The simpler the image, the deeper you go in meditation. The breath is one of the most simple images you can use, and for those who want to take this meditation on the breath further, that gives rise to some even deeper and more profound images in the mind, simpler things, just like peace itself, which you can put your mind on, and that's all that's there, just see what peace actually is. And that's, you say, what are you aware of? Just peace, nothing else, just a mental image, rather than a feeling. And that takes you into very deep states of calm, very powerful states of happiness. So this is just like a simplifying of the mind. It's sometimes very complicated, isn't it, in life? You have to do so many things at once. You do one thing at once, it's called peace. Any other question? Yeah? Yeah. You ask, with regular meditation, do you need less sleep? Yes, that's very true. Because meditation is a marvelous way of relaxing. And what do we sleep for is to relax not just the body but also the mind, especially the mind. And people who really have very deep meditation usually have less sleep. It has many physical benefits, this meditation. And one of the things it does is it lowers blood pressure. One of the monks once, he used to work for the SEC, was it Western Power now or something, the SEC in the old days. He had quite a top job somewhere, not just on the fixing up sort of faults, but working in an office sort of ordering all sorts of things, quite a high-powered job. But he always used to go and give blood every now and again. And after he became a monk, we went to go and give blood at the Red Cross in Wellington Street. I remember the nurse taking the blood pressure. Because she had the old records there, she said, something's wrong, your blood pressure's really down. And then she looked at him, and because, he had a bald head and brown robes, said, you haven't been meditating, have you? And that's what she actually said. And he said, yeah, of course. And he said, that's why. It's just very well known that meditation, because it releases the stress, it lowers blood pressure, and does all sorts of other good things for the body, including lessening your sleep. An hour of your sleep is many years on your life. Do you want to live long? Then sleep less. How much of your life are you wasting? Okay, I think that's probably enough for today, and if you have any other questions you'd like to ask, then please come up and ask them personally. If not, hopefully I'll see you next week. So happy meditating and happy walking as well.